This video explores the documented history of unidentified flying objects and their connection to America's most famous address, the White House in Washington, D.C. We'll examine real government reports, presidential testimonies, and declassified documents that reveal how UFO encounters have intersected with the highest levels of American power. From radar confirmations over the Capitol in 1952 to recent Pentagon disclosures, this investigation covers verified incidents, witness accounts, and the ongoing government response to unexplained aerial phenomena. The White House has served as the official residence and workplace of every U.S. president since John Adams in 1800. Located at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, this iconic building sits at the heart of American political power. Built of sandstone painted white, the Executive Mansion has witnessed nearly every major decision in American history. Its grounds stretch across 18 acres, providing both public spaces and secure areas where the nation's most sensitive matters are discussed. What many people don't realize is how often unexplained objects in the sky have captured the attention of those who live and work within these walls. The stories that follow aren't science fiction or conspiracy theories. They're documented events, filed reports, and testimonies from credible witnesses, including presidents, military personnel, and government officials. July 1952 brought something unprecedented to the skies over Washington, D.C. On the night of July 19, radar operators at Washington National Airport detected unusual objects on their screens. The blip showed craft moving at incredible speeds, performing maneuvers that seemed impossible for any known aircraft. These weren't isolated readings from a single radar station. Andrews Air Force Base was tracking the same objects simultaneously. Air traffic controllers watched as the mysterious objects appeared to hover over the White House and the Capitol building, before accelerating away at speeds that defied explanation. The timing couldn't have been worse for the Truman administration. The Cold War was at its peak, and any unidentified aircraft over the nation's most sensitive locations raised immediate concerns about Soviet capabilities. The objects returned the following weekend, July 26th and 27th. This time, the Air Force scrambled F-94 interceptor jets to investigate. Pilots reported seeing white lights that seemed to respond to their approach, vanishing when they moved closer. Meanwhile, commercial airline pilots flying in the area confirmed they could see the same mysterious lights that radar was tracking. President Harry Truman was so concerned that he had his Air Force aide call the head of Project Blue Book, Captain Edward Ruppelt, demanding an explanation. Truman himself listened to the conversation on a separate phone, though he didn't speak directly. The pressure from the highest levels of government was intense. Nobody wanted to admit they didn't know what was flying over the White House. The media coverage was massive. Newspaper headlines across America screamed, "Saucers swarm over Capitol," and "Jets chased DC sky ghosts." The public was demanding answers, and the military felt compelled to provide them quickly. The Air Force called a press conference, the longest such news event since World War II. Major General John Samford repeatedly returned to one explanation: temperature inversion. He claimed that unusual weather conditions had caused radar signals to bend and create false returns. The official story was that hot, humid air over cool ground had created an atmospheric mirror that confused both radar operators and pilots. However, many of the radar operators and Air Force officers who witnessed the events disagreed with this explanation. Even years later, when interviewed for official investigations, they maintained they had seen real, physical objects. Howard Coughlin, a radar controller at National Airport, told the Washington Post in 2002 that he remained convinced of what he saw, stating he observed the objects both on radar screens and visually through the control tower windows. The story of presidents and UFOs didn't end with Truman's emergency phone calls. Several commanders-in-chief have had their own encounters with unexplained phenomena, creating a pattern that continues to this day. In 1969, future President Jimmy Carter had his own UFO experience while serving as governor of Georgia. On the evening of January 6, Carter was waiting outside a Lions Club meeting in Leary, Georgia, when one of the guests called his attention to a strange bright object in the western sky. Carter later described the object as being as bright as the moon, about 30 degrees above the horizon. It appeared to move toward their group before stopping beyond a stand of pine trees. The object seemed to change colors, cycling from bright blue to red to white before disappearing. About 20 other Lions Club members witnessed the same phenomenon, all describing it as, quote, very bright, changing colors, and about the size of the moon. Carter filed an official report with the International UFO Bureau in 1973, 4 years after the incident. He was careful to note the exact time, around 7:15 p.m., and that the object remained visible for approximately 10 to 12 minutes. What makes Carter's account particularly interesting is his background. Carter was an amateur astronomer who owned a telescope and was thoroughly familiar with Venus. When researchers later suggested he had misidentified the planet Venus, Carter firmly rejected this explanation, noting that he and the other witnesses were experienced outdoorsmen who knew what planets looked like at different times. During his 1976 presidential campaign, Carter promised that if elected, he would encourage the government release of every piece of information about UFOs available to the public and to scientists. However, after winning the presidency, Carter backed away from this pledge, saying that the release of some information might have defense implications and pose a threat to national security. President Ronald Reagan also reported UFO encounters. During a private screening of the movie E.T. at the White House, Reagan made a comment about how accurate the film was. While this was passed off as a joke, given his documented interest in UFOs, some wondered if there was more to the statement. Reagan had his own UFO experience in 1974, when he observed an unexplained object trailing his aircraft while serving as governor of California. The incident was significant enough that Reagan later discussed it with Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev, asking if the USSR would cooperate with the United States if Earth faced an alien threat. The relationship between UFOs and the White House runs much deeper than isolated presidential encounters. The Central Intelligence Agency became heavily involved in UFO investigations during the 1950s, particularly after the 1952 Washington incidents. The extremely high numbers of UFO reports in 1952 disturbed both the Air Force and the CIA. Both agencies worried that an enemy nation could deliberately flood the United States with false UFO reports, causing mass panic and providing cover for a surprise attack. This concern led to the creation of the Robertson Panel in January 1953. The panel, led by physicist Howard P. Robertson, consisted of prominent scientists who spent 4 days examining the best UFO cases from Project Blue Book. The panel's controversial recommendation was that the Air Force should spend less time studying UFO reports and more time publicly debunking them. Project Blue Book, the military's official UFO investigation program, operated from 1947 to 1969. During this period, they investigated 12,618 UFO sightings. Of those cases, 701 remained officially unidentified when the project ended. The government's approach to UFOs during this era created lasting questions about transparency and accountability. Many UFO researchers have claimed that agencies like the CIA withheld crucial information from both Congress and the American public. While some of these claims have been debunked, the culture of secrecy around unexplained aerial phenomena has persisted for decades. The 21st century has brought unprecedented openness about government UFO investigations. In 2022, the Department of Defense established the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office (AAARO) to serve as the primary agency for investigating what are now called unidentified anomalous phenomena (UAP). Between May 2023 and June 2024, AARO received 757 new incident reports. This represented a significant increase from previous reporting periods, bringing the total number of cases under review to over 1,600. Pentagon officials explained that the increase was due to greater awareness about reporting UAP incidents, not necessarily because sightings were becoming more frequent. Of the cases reviewed, 21 could not be explained by conventional means. These unexplained incidents involved objects described as, quote, orbs, cylinders, and triangles. Some cases occurred over extended periods, suggesting the possibility of multiple phenomena or technologies being observed simultaneously. In July 2023, military veterans testified before Congress about their UFO experiences, sparking new debates and investigations. A former Pentagon task force member testified that the government possessed extraterrestrial spacecraft and claimed to know exactly where they were hidden. However, the Pentagon's comprehensive historical report, released in March 2024, found no evidence that any government investigation, academic research, or official review panel had confirmed that any UAP sighting represented extraterrestrial technology. The report concluded that most sightings were ordinary objects misidentified due to various factors, including weather conditions, conventional aircraft, and natural phenomena. One of the most surprising developments in recent UFO disclosure came from an unexpected source. In 2024, the Pentagon revealed that many UFO conspiracy theories actually originated from its own disinformation campaigns designed to hide secret weapons programs, particularly around Area 51. During the Cold War, military officials deliberately planted false evidence, including doctored photographs showing supposed flying saucers, to divert attention from stealth aircraft testing. In one documented case from the 1980s, an Air Force colonel provided fake UFO photos to a bar owner near Area 51, feeding speculation that the military was experimenting with alien technology when they were actually conducting classified stealth fighter operations. The Pentagon also disclosed the existence of Yankee Blue, a fake reverse engineering program that Air Force officers were inducted into as part of a decades-long hazing ritual. These revelations highlight how institutional secrecy and deliberate misinformation have complicated the public's understanding of unexplained aerial phenomena for generations. President Donald Trump has expressed support for UFO disclosure, though he has not shown deep personal interest in the subject. In conversations with his family, Trump has suggested he has knowledge about materials supposedly recovered from the famous 1947 Roswell incident, though he has declined to share specific details. Congress has continued pushing for transparency through legislation like the UAP Disclosure Act, which was included in the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act. This legislation establishes a timeline for government agencies to turn over UFO-related information, and creates oversight mechanisms for ongoing investigations. The Act also establishes government ownership over any recovered technology of unknown origin or biological remains from non-human intelligence, using eminent domain powers to ensure such materials remain under federal control. Today's UFO investigations represent a dramatic shift from the secrecy of previous decades. The Pentagon has launched public websites allowing current and former government employees to report direct knowledge of UAP-related programs. These digital reporting systems are designed to encourage whistleblowing while protecting national security information. NASA has also joined the effort, creating a new position for a director of UAP research. This role focuses on moving the subject from stigma to science by applying rigorous scientific methods to investigate unexplained phenomena. The modern approach emphasizes data collection, scientific analysis, and public transparency, rather than the debunking efforts that characterized earlier government programs. Reports of UAP near military bases and national security facilities are now treated as serious potential threats requiring thorough investigation. The relationship between the White House and unexplained aerial phenomena continues to evolve. After more than 70 years of official investigations, government secrecy, and public speculation, we're entering an era of unprecedented openness about what our government knows and doesn't know about objects in our skies. Defense officials acknowledge that dozens of cases remain under active investigation, with some incidents involving technologies that appear to exceed current human capabilities. Whether these represent advanced foreign technology, natural phenomena we don't yet understand, or something else entirely remains an open question. What has changed is the willingness of government institutions to admit uncertainty, and to investigate these phenomena with scientific rigor, rather than dismissing them outright. The White House, once a place where UFO discussions happened only in secret phone calls and classified briefings, has become part of a broader effort to understand one of the most enduring mysteries of our time. The story of UFOs and the White House reminds us that even at the highest levels of government, there are still questions without clear answers. As technology advances and our ability to detect and analyze unusual phenomena improves, we may finally get the explanations that have eluded us for generations. Until then, the files remain open, the investigations continue, and the mystery endures. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more information from visitors from above.